For at least the past 5 years, Blizzard has banked on the relative nostalgia of their fanbase, remembering the good old days of StarCraft and Brood War, Warcraft 2 and 3, and Diablo 2. Players remember the greatness of World of Warcraft up to Wrath of the Lich King, leading to the slow decline that was Cataclysm and the cliff that was Mists of Pandaria. It became so bad that in 2015, Blizzard announced during their routine earnings report that they would no longer post the subscription numbers of World of Warcraft from that point on, arguing that the success of the company was no longer dependent on WoW and that other projects, most notably Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone, which have significant microtransaction costs for better heroes and cards, really were the future for the company. Unfortunately, this is moving to other brands the company produces. Not that anyone is surprised by it. With the remastered version of StarCraft and Brood War, as well as the announcements of the vanilla World of Warcraft servers and a remastered Warcraft 3, this seems to be the foreseeable future for the Blizzard part of Activision Blizzard, cementing that they are banking on the goodwill of the classics rather than bringing out substantial new products. It could work, as even I remember getting my friend, who hates real-time strategy games, into Brood War, and we would spend every other weekend at LAN parties just enjoying the fun of Zerg Protoss doubles. The problem is this is becoming the standard, it seems, with Tryon having launched Rift Prime, a paid vanilla server since their own games have flopped the past few years. However, it should be noted that the entirety of Rift's development team was fired with the acquisition of Tryon by Gamigo, a company known to milk dying games. Tryon's biggest issue was not listening to the players, of overpromising features they never bothered to deliver on, and leading to a lot of anger from their player base to the point that they came to the brink of bankruptcy. Blizzard is on the same route, having overpromised and underdelivered constantly, or having ignored the players, the people who made their games what they are today, in order to appeal to a younger audience of cyclical players, the kids who play Farmville on Facebook. The short-term gains were always expected to offset the long-term losses, and that didn't hold up as well as they'd hoped. It's why they announced their goal was for annual expansions of WoW, continued to fail to meet those deadlines, and then gave up on it very quickly. Not listening to the players has been a huge issue for many AAA companies, most notably EA, who had, up until this Blizzard announcement, the worst rated YouTube video in history with Battlefront 2. Their attempts to circumvent the anger by hiding features or outright lying about others led to a change in how players viewed the company, and even their most rabid supporters couldn't defend the actions of EA. This weekend at BlizzCon, the same thing happened with the announcement of Diablo Immortal, the mobile prequel to Diablo 3. For the first time in memory, Blizzard devs were actively booed at BlizzCon. But what do you expect when their reaction to the crowd's actions was to denigrate them?
Fluffy face of Diablo. I was curious.
Fluffy.
I was curious. I see a lot of mechanics that we've kind of been begging for in Diablo 3 in this. Is there any plans to make this playable on PC, or is this strictly mobile forever?
Are there any? The current plan is to be on mobile, both Android and iOS. We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
You can play on your tablet, too.
Yes, it's also on the Switch, you're right.
Hello.
It got so bad that a player simply asked if the announcement was an April Fool's joke.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
No, it's a fully fledged Diablo experience on mobile, which everybody will get to play, and hopefully.
Of course, in classic fashion, Mashable published 2 articles calling the masses entitled for voicing their frustration at the company's rampant idiocy. Kellen Beck, in his article titled "Diablo Immortal is Actually Fun, You Entitled Babies," wrote, "A lot of people disagreed and immediately began complaining both online and in person about this apparent slight, this bastardization of their franchise, this complete abandonment of rational thought by a company that routinely creates some of the best and most successful games to ever exist. He followed it up with, "You are entitled to nothing. Game companies owe you nothing. You don't just get to have whatever you want and then throw a tantrum when your own personal dreams don't come true. Blizzard hasn't abandoned the core Diablo franchise just because it created a mobile game." Well, Kellen, the problem is that it is our game. A developer might have a direction they want to go, but if the player base is vehemently against it, it won't sell, and they've lost money. It's a failure that they will be known for, because anything a developer and a AAA company messes up on percolates throughout the entire industry. Obviously, they won't listen to everything everyone says. That's part of ruined Star Wars, The Old Republic after all. But the players are against the development of this game, especially when there is no substantive answers at the Q&A session, and the developers are clearly uncomfortable because of the reaction. Nathan Grayson, in a spectacularly neutral and informative article on Kotaku, laid the cause for the backlash squarely at the feet of Blizzard Entertainment. In theory, the aforementioned blog post was supposed to head that thinking off at the pass, but it backfired. Big video game companies have a way of talking about things they haven't announced, and the post exemplifies that. If you read through it with the benefit of hindsight, it's pretty obvious that it's telling people not to get their hopes up for anything too big at BlizzCon. However, it's easy to see how fans can also interpret it as though it's saying the complete opposite. Nowhere does it just directly state that people shouldn't expect to see the next Diablo game at BlizzCon. Credit where it's due, he does an incredible article on this, and my hat's off to him for it. Blizzard admitted they expected backlash, but not to this degree. "We know our audience here is passionately PC and console focused," he said. "We've also seen this before. We saw a similar response when we announced that we were bringing Diablo to console, and we saw a similar response to the announcement of Hearthstone. But this follows after some Diablo fans went after the similarly angry fans. Adam Holinsky is the owner of Blizzard Watch, a site dedicated to everything Blizzard. His Twitter account went protected after a tweet that, sadly, I didn't think to screen cap, but one helpful Redditor copied and pasted the tweet in question. No joke, I blame @real Donald Trump for the rhetoric of the Blizzard community right now over Diablo Immortal. It hasn't been this bad in years. Perverse national discourse and normalization of hardline, no-compromise speech is the root cause of this. This has nothing to do with Donald Trump. For years, Blizzard has ignored many of their dedicated, hardcore fans in almost every game they have put out. They have overpromised, underdelivered, and then the players become angry with it. This is the first time Blizzard has seen an actual revolt at their own convention, which is probably going to be a wake-up call to the company. At the end of the day, had they taken the feedback from many of their more stalwart fans seriously, they may have found the player base more receptive to them. Instead, they found out that even a vocal minority, as many have tried to say this is, can have lasting implications on future sales. Hopefully, it will be enough for the developers to stand up to the suits like they used to, and demand that they be allowed to put out a quality product for all players, not just the Facebook Farmville kids many of the bigwigs seem focused on now.